Hello, my name is Christian Fink-Irizarry, and I'm a graduate of the Savannah College of Art and Design, and I'm here to tell you if SCAD, or art school in general, is worth it. So I graduated from the Savannah College of Art and Design class of 2021. So I've been out of school for a few months now. I've really been looking back at my time at art school and just seeing if it was worth it for me. And there's not a lot of resources out there on SCAD in particular. So I figured I would just kind of fill the void. So if you are someone who is thinking about attending SCAD or art school in general, honestly, then please stick around. I'm going to keep my comments about art school in general towards the end. So this review will be SCAD specific. So let's just dive into it. So the SCAD Savannah campus is a very unique experience, and that is really due to how unique of a city Savannah is in general. I will preface this, if you want a true city experience, you know, the sprawling landscape, the skyscrapers, and that vibe like New York or LA, then I highly recommend that you check out the SCAD Atlanta campus, because Atlanta is a real city, whereas Savannah is sort of a big town. So that is something to consider. But it is a fun town. You are never going to run out of things to do here. There is an insane amount of restaurants. You got Hilton Head Beach, you got Tybee Beach, you got Bluffton, Pooler, you got Wormslow. There's always something happening in Savannah. And if you have a car to go explore in, you are never going to run out of things to discover about this place. I've been here close to 5 years now, and I still find new stuff to do. And that's part of the beauty of Savannah. And the nice thing that I appreciate too is that it feels like a calm city, even though there is so much going on. Like it's laid back here, it's calm, it's relaxing. So if that feels like your kind of vibe, then SCAD Savannah might be the thing for you. I think SCAD's culture is what really distinguishes it from other schools. There is no aspect of Greek life here, you know, no fraternities or sororities or anything like that. It is a work school. Like, don't misunderstand that. If you are coming to SCAD, you are coming to SCAD to learn how to be a well-rounded artist. And they will make sure you are an artist by the time you leave here. Literally, the way SCAD is structured, it is designed to make you an artist. Instead of doing semesters, you do 3 10-week quarters. So by that is very naturally a fast-paced kind of school. You are going to have to do finals 3 times a year, which is always fun. But SCAD also just has this insane emphasis on networking, collaboration, and professionalism. I remember I took a computer arts class for my first class ever at SCAD. And on the first day of class, my professor handed out a pamphlet to every single student, and it was a checklist. And he's like, you got to have all of this by the end of your senior year or you will be behind. And it was like, have business cards, have a website, have a resume and a cover letter and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, oh, so like, you know, from the very get-go, you are here to learn how to be a professional. And that can be a good or bad thing. I can elaborate on that later. But the SCAD culture, you know, there is this camaraderie that, you know, we're all in it together, because it is an intense school with an intense workload. But I will say this, a lot of students here, they, you know, like there is a theme of, you know, students pulling all-nighters and, you know, working hard just to get good grades and stuff like that. And that's another thing too. If you get below a C at SCAD, they send you like an email to be like, hey, are you okay? Like, why are you not doing well? Like, get good, kid. And they really do care about your academic performance. If you can manage your time well, finals will never be an issue for you. I think I've only ever had to pull 1 or 2 all-nighters over my time at SCAD, and I know kids who have like pulled all-nighters every weekend. to make their deadlines or whatever. And you know, that might be them and their majors, but at least for me, in my experience, if you can manage your time well, you can manage SCAD just fine. Like the workload, if you let it build up, then it gets bad. And SCAD will make you a professional. They have this policy where if you miss 4 classes, you fail the quarter automatically. Like you have 4 absences, and then once you miss the 5th class, then you're done, because you would have effectively missed like 25% of the classes that you had to take that quarter or whatever. So if you are debating between art schools or debating if you want to come to art school in general, that is something to consider, because SCAD's culture is very much, we are going to make you a professional. We are going to make sure that you are a well-rounded artist. And a lot of that has to come with criticism. If you are able to take criticism and have a thick skin, and if you know that you're able to take other people's notes and distill them in your own artistic voice and then, you know, make your project better, SCAD's going to be a breeze. But if you are someone who is still kind of figuring out what they want to be, or you don't like getting notes on your stuff, then SCAD may not be the school for you. I mean, I can do a whole section on like criticism, especially at SCAD in a classroom setting, because it can be really hit or miss, because a lot of the criticism here is classroom based. So, you know, you're having your professor who has their own taste and vision talking about your project, and then of course students are gonna be like, oh yeah, you know what the professor said. That's literally almost every single criticism or like critique session that I've had at SCAD. It's like the students are all just looking at each other like, and they're waiting for the professor to say something, and then they all just hop on what the professor said and elaborate on it. So it's interesting. If you want to develop your artistic voice, then SCAD is definitely a good place for you. But be ready to have your work torn to shreds, so that way you can learn how to be a good artist. And that is something about the SCAD culture that I can appreciate now, but at the time, hated. Of course, with that whole rant about the SCAD culture, you know, the educational quality must be good, right? It's hit or miss. It's honestly hit or miss. I'm not even joking about that. Like, some professors here give a shit, and they want to help you learn and develop, and you can tell that they're actually passionate about helping the students. But there are other professors here, or, you know, lessons where professors will pull up a YouTube video, play the YouTube video, then talk about the YouTube video. And it's like, why am I paying this much money? Why have you show me a YouTube video? YouTube's a free resource. I could just look this up myself if I'm interested in the subject. You know, for some subjects like art history and stuff like that, like, you know, fine, show me the YouTube video, whatever. But when I was taking classes for my major, and the professors are showing me YouTube videos that I have already looked up on my own time, and that's the foundation to their lesson plan for that day, I get a little annoyed. Because it's like, I've seen this video 5 times already. Like, I already know what the person's about to say, and I already know what you're going to cover. So it's like, frustrating. All of that to say, the educational quality at SCAD is not worth the price tag, but that's just my experience. You know, it might be totally different for painting majors or art, or, you know, drawing or fashion design, textiles, like jewelry design, whatever. Like, at least for me, as a student with a film degree going through the film and television program, I don't know if the educational quality was worth the price tag. But what was worth the price tag is everything else that SCAD offers, which is equipment and networking opportunities. Before I go into my whole section about the film department in general, because if you are a filmmaker out there looking for a good art school on the East Coast and you are thinking about SCAD, then this next section is going to be definitely for you. But to sort of conclude right now until the end of the video, my overall thoughts about SCAD and art school in general. SCAD's educational quality isn't worth the price tag, but the other opportunities that they can bring you and how to develop as a professional might be worth it for you. So at this point, I'm going to be going into the film department of SCAD and just sort of talk about how good of a film school SCAD can be. So if you are not a filmmaker or a photographer or anything like that, then you can skip to the end of the video. The film department at SCAD, it's a very unique atmosphere. I'm going to reiterate this point at the end of the video. The SCAD film department will do a fantastic job of training you how to be a Hollywood filmmaker, a professional operating at the top level, because SCAD has the cage, which is where you rent all your film equipment from. They have amazing lights and they have top quality cameras. SCAD just built an XR stage. For those of you who don't know what that is, if you've seen the BTS for The Mandalorian, it's like a 360 LED stage. SCAD will teach you how to be a fantastic Hollywood filmmaker operating at the top level. What they won't do is teach you how to get there. And I've been saying that to a lot of my friends who are still attending SCAD, friends who have graduated SCAD. And when I say that, they all sort of nod their head in agreement. It's like, yeah, that's accurate. And I'll elaborate on what I mean. So the film department, they have amazing equipment. If you are a cinematographer, a director, a producer, you have amazing access to resources. And another thing about the SCAD film department is the atmosphere. It feels like Los Angeles. Like, you know, you have your A-list actors and talent, you know, you have your top of the top, and that's fine. No problem with it. They've earned it. They are extremely talented, sure. But those are the kids that are going to be, you know, introduced to the celebrities when the SCAD Savannah Film Festival is happening. You know, those are the students that professors are going to be introducing to people that they know, their connections and stuff like that. So, you know, there is that aspect to it. It's like you are going to see other students get insane opportunities sort of handed to them because of, you know, X, Y, and Z. And, you know, that's just how it goes in the industry sometimes. And then, you know, you have your B and C and, you know, and underground or whatever. Like, so that sort of atmosphere is just condensed and isolated at SCAD. When you do eventually graduate and try to make your way into the industry, you are going to have a good sense of how things operate because SCAD has done a very good job at that. Whether you like it or not, that's a whole other thing. But at least that's been my experience at this school. But there is an insane amount of networking and collaboration emphasis. And I remember before COVID, I was a freshman or sophomore, and you know, they would have mixers and, you know, editing club and producing club and all that sorts of stuff. So you are going to have the opportunity to work with an insane number of people, and you're going to be working with really talented people who know their stuff and know what they're doing, and they are just fantastic to work with. And then you're going to be working with some people who you're like, I do not know how you've made it this far. And you know, that's what makes it kind of fun, in my opinion. Like, you know, you never really know who you're working with. But, you know, if you are a good worker and you have a good attitude, you're going to have a fine time. I personally feel a bit conflicted. It's because of SCAD and the connections that I've made here and the things that I've learned just through trial and error of doing stuff on my own. It's because of SCAD that I feel prepared to operate at the professional level, but I also felt a little bit gypped. You know, they were teaching us how to operate at this level, but they never talked about or gave a class on You know, how do you make a feature film for under $3,000? Or, you know, like, how do you light a scene with, you know, like 1 or 2 lights? You know what I mean? Like, they give you all of these resources, and they give you all of this access, and, you know, the film festival and the lights and the cameras, and, you know, all this insane amounts of talented people who are getting thousands upon thousands of dollars for their projects. But it's like, no one is going to clue you in on how they do it. You know what I mean? Because that's just stuff that's not taught. There are some practical things that are taught, especially in specific classes like distribution. In distribution class, you are going to learn a lot about how to talk to producers and, you know, find the distribution pathway for your project. But a lot of it is just going to be self-taught, doing it on your own. That's why I'm a little conflicted. It's like, okay, if I'm going to have to learn this stuff on my own anyway, then why did I go to SCAD when I could have just done it on my own? That point's just sort of negated, because it's because of SCAD I have been able to make friends and create my network of people who I can count on and trust to help me with their projects, and I can help them with theirs. That's really what it comes down to, is if you want to be, you know, director, cinematographer, producer, whatever, you can learn that stuff on YouTube. But if you want to be surrounded by other people who want the same thing as you do, and you want to build your network, then that is the reason why you should come to SCAD. And this is just a side note too. SCAD has a very big emphasis on department head positions like director, producer, writer, cinematographer, editor, stuff like that. If you are someone who is thinking like, I don't know if I want to be a director or a cinematographer, I maybe want to be a gaffer or a grip or a, you know, a first AD or something like that, SCAD is still a good school for you to go to, because I know a lot of people who have been, you know, they love gripping and they love gaffing, and they got unionized by like their sophomore, junior year. So, you know, SCAD is a great place to like get unionized in that sort of department. So if you are someone who wants to be a set decorator or a grip or PA or whatever, you might want to check out some other schools in Savannah. I know there's a school called Savannah Tech, and I've worked with a lot of students from there. And Savannah Tech is really great for below the line positions, because they teach you how to be a good grip, a good PA, a good set decorator, a good gaffer, and stuff like that. And that can be your way into the industry. For every director, there is going to be a team of 10 to 20 to 50 or however many grips, and you know what I mean? So if that feels like the path that you want to go in, then I would suggest going to Savannah Tech. It's a lot cheaper, it's a lot faster, and a lot of the students that I know from Savannah Tech, they have gone on to, you know, really amazing projects. Is SCAD worth it? Is art school worth it? Yes and no. And let me explain. If you are an artist who knows what they want to do, like you don't need to know exactly what you want to do. As long as you are like, I want to be a painter, I want to be a graphic designer, I want to be a filmmaker, I want to be a photographer. You don't need to know what you need to specialize in or whatever, but if you know the field that you want to go into and you have thick skin, you are confident enough in your artistic voice to accept criticism, distill it, and then riff on other people's notes for your project, and then maintain your artistic voice while still improving your work, SCAD is definitely going to be the place for you. No doubt about it. Because a big thing that happens here is that, you know, some students, they may not be as confident in their artistic voice, which is fine. You know, we're all at different points in our journeys or whatever. The thing that happens is, you know, they ask their professor for notes, they ask their friends for notes, and then they don't know how to take it. You know what I mean? Like they take every note super seriously, or they give one professor or one student like way too much credit, and they're just like, oh yeah, every single note that this person gave me is correct. So it effectively, like, they change their project to fit what the other person thought their project should be. and it rubs me the wrong way. You know, you're gonna learn one way or another. You know, you're gonna develop your artistic voice, and you know, it's school. You're here to learn. You are going to have more beneficial outcomes if you come in ready to accept criticism and then find a way to power through everyone's notes and come out with something better that's still you, but it shows that you are receptive to criticism. If you're someone who's self-aware enough to say, hey, I don't really take notes that well, then you might want to take the time, because art school is not going anywhere. That's the other thing. SCAD is not going anywhere. Art school is not going anywhere. SCAD will always be ready to take your money. Honestly, the way you respond to criticism is going to be a huge aspect of if you succeed or fail in art school. And I don't mean succeed and fail as in like, oh, you get an A or an F or whatever. Are you there to be a better artist? Or, you know, if you're on the fence, or you're like, yeah, I can take it or leave it or whatever, then I'll say this, and then just don't go to SCAD. You can go to another cheaper art school. SCAD is so expensive. I know so many students who are like, you know, they wanted to go in as a graphic designer and now they're a photographer, or they came in as painting and now they're animation. They figure it out as like a junior or senior, like, oh, hey, I want to change majors. It's like, SCAD is so expensive, and you just spend 3 years to figure out, hey, now I want to do this. And now you got to make that time up. Take the time. Take the time to just figure yourself out. There is no rush at all. But I will give a word of warning. SCAD will teach you how to be a great professional operating at that top level. But you're going to graduate. You're not going to have access to their resources anymore. And you're going to have to figure out how to get there. Unless you're like a really extroverted person who is able to go to the events and just talk to people and, you know, be that friend to everyone, and, you know, like one of those connections pulls through, you know, then that's great. Fantastic. I know a lot of students who have done that and they're doing amazingly. There are a lot of students that, and myself included, it's like once we graduated SCAD and we don't have access to the resources anymore, it's like, how do I achieve this high level of quality with little to nothing? It is something to consider. And that's why I think SCAD should at least expand their curriculum and expand their mode of thinking. So I hope you found this informative. I hope you enjoyed it. And I have some other content that I'm going to be producing for this channel, specifically for filmmakers, but you know, anyone and everyone is welcome. So please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one. Have a good one.